And then the other side is just like, yo, all of this looks like shit. I just want to live my life the way I want to live it. And then that's where I started realizing, like, oh yeah, that's how I want to live my life. I want to make my own choices. I want to be responsible for myself. Like, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Why Bitcoin podcast, the podcast where we question everything, but mainly, why Bitcoin? I'm your host, Jeff, and I'm here joined today with my good friend, Doug. Doug, how you doing?
Very good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm awesome. It's a beautiful day today. It's a beautiful day.
Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday.
Yeah, I'm always excited about Mondays, man. Mondays is one of the best days of the week.
It is, because you know why?
Why?
Because we get to talk about Bitcoin.
It's true. You know what? You know what I've realized, honestly, in life? When you have a circle of friends that are like, Mondays, you have a bad circle of friends. When you find people that love Mondays, that means those are people that are go-getters and they're excited about life, and those are just all-around better people. So if you're listening to this and you don't like Mondays...
man! Jeff coming out hot! Right out the gate, coming out hot.
It's important. Okay, we missed our small fact. I want to give a small fact, guys. If you don't know, we always give small facts. A little small fact about me. I have 3 tarantulas as pets in my house, so I'm pretty cool.
Really? I didn't know that.
I have 3 tarantulas. They're not really mine. They're more my wife's because she wanted spiders, and I was like, yeah, we can get spiders. We had some scorpions and stuff, too. They were pretty cool. There's a scorpion in Harry Potter. It's called the Tailless Whip Scorpion. And they use it like it's the most deadly creature there's ever been, but really they're like the most gentle scorpion that's ever existed. You could hold them, and they're pretty cool. Tailless whip scorpions, check them out.
Okay, all right, that's
it's a small fact.
That's creepy as hell. Do you actually hold them? Do you actually touch them?
Yeah, 2 of them you can touch. 1 of them you don't want to touch, or maybe it's the other way around. 1 of them you can hold. 2 of them you don't really want to mess with.
The tarantulas? Because of the spines or the fur or whatever?
The venom, yeah. Venom and spines and stuff. If they're actually kicking their hairs at you, you're safe. It's when they bite you. Certain ones have poison that'll... Like the one that you hold, if it bites you, it's kind of like a bee sting. And then the other ones, if they bite you, it's like you got to get to the hospital in a pretty short amount of time. But they look pretty.
Wow, that sounds fun.
They look really pretty. Okay, small fact.
All right, small fact. Sorry. My small fact of the week is that I am a Scotch drinker. I've been a lover of Scotch for 10 years, and my favorite Scotch is Glenmorangie La Santa.
Oh, no way. I thought your favorite one was Monkey Tail or something like this.
Monkey Shoulder is a good one, but I am a big fan of single malts. Monkey Shoulder is a good substitute if I can't get like a Glenmorangie or something like that.
Okay, that's cool.
Is it Glenmorangie or Glenmorangie? I never always forget.
I used to drink a fair amount. I've since taken a break from drinking, but I was always a fan of whiskeys, and you would tell me some good ones to get, and I'd get them, and yeah, they're enjoyable. If you have like
they can be.
Yeah, if you have 1 glass,
Yep,
it's good stuff.
Yep. So I usually, while we're podcasting, I usually have a little glass of scotch going, awesome. Just to kind of lubricate the vocal cords, as it were.
Lube it up. It's always good to lube it up for a podcast.
You made it dirty. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Jeff, where could we find this podcast?
How do we find us?
Yeah, how do you find us?
Okay, there's a few good places to find us, guys. If you want to see us, we are on YouTube. Just search Why Bitcoin in the search tab, and you can search under channels, and you'll find us right away. We're also on Spotify and anywhere else you find podcasts. You can search us on Twitter at WhyBitcoin_, where we tweet almost all the time. Side note, we both have personal Twitters that are more active at this point, just to be perfectly honest. My Twitter handle is at 7footfiend. That was my old name on Twitch. Still is my name on Twitch. Do you want to give your Twitter handle there, Doug?
Yeah, you can find me at Papa Baron on Twitter. Nice. And I think I'm gonna change that to Doug at Why Bitcoin.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think I might do that. But for right now, it's at Papa Baron.
Nice.
So you can check it out.
make sure to follow us. We also have a Discord server if you're into that sort of thing and you want to chat with us at all time. We post all sorts of articles and fun things to just, if you want to go down a good rabbit hole, we have a great list of videos you can watch and articles you can read.
It's basically the show 24/7. You get the show 24/7 for free. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
as if it's not for free right now. This show is for free.
Well,
if you're paying for this show,
true.
just be careful.
Oops.
and finally, you can email us any comments, questions, concerns, or complaints at askwhybitcoin@gmail.com. Nailed it.
Hey, you did. You nailed this so good. You nailed this so good.
We're getting clean.
It's you know what? I just realized, buddy. I know you're drinking tea right now, but I'm going to raise my glass of scotch to you.
Okay.
And we're going to what's it called? Intercontinentally cheers, because this is episode 10.
We are episode 10.
What would it be? Clink. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I guess. I don't know. No, what's the
word?
It
I think it'd be intracontinental.
No, it'd be
right.
Multi-country lateral. What's the word for when there's lots of countries involved? There's a word for this. I don't know. Either way, we're definitely clinking over the internet. Welcome to episode 10, boys and girls.
Well, good day and welcome to episode 10, eh?
Eh? Did I say eh?
No, I just was suddenly reminded of Bob and Doug McKenzie. So.
Oh, okay. Hey, do you feel like giving any financial advice on this episode?
You know, I had a feeling I might do that, but then I hit myself in the face with a hammer, and I don't feel like that anymore.
Nice. That's I have a joke that goes something about hitting your head in the hammer. Yeah. Oh man, I should look that up. Something
you should.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at it. It was one of my first jokes I made when I started researching Bitcoin. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna tell you what it is. This is not financial advice. This is
not even a little
advice. You should do your own research. Everything we say, you should take and say, I'm gonna go double check what those guys said because they're probably idiots, and you'd be right.
And would be accurate.
You would be accurate. We are just two dudes talking. That's all this show is. And make sure you do your own research.
Yep. Hey, one more thing. I'm looking through the show notes here, and I don't see a space for advertisers. Did you want to just do that now?
Advertiser?
Yeah.
It's in the price check.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. When we get to that, then. That sounds good.
No, spoilers. Okay. Spoilers. Okay, it's fine.
All right. Well, kind of, but all right. Anyways.
Spoiler. Okay, I'm going to open with a heartwarming comment of the week. Now, this is a little sad because I have a friend on Twitter that sent me a question, and I was like, ooh, can I use this question for the podcast? And he's like, yeah, definitely. And I was like, have you heard the podcast? And he's like, no. so I told him to listen. I told him to listen to it. He checked it out, and he really enjoys it, and he's interested in being on. So how's it going, Julius?
Hey, Julius.
I'm going to just say one thing he said that made my heart fill with warm. He said, dude, thanks for telling me to start The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's fucking mind-blowing. So many things starting to connect. I've paused and rewinded 30 seconds many times just because of how well the author explains things and the history behind it. Truly incredible. And I'm just about 2 hours in. So, yeah, man, it feels good. If you're listening to this and you haven't tried to listen to The Creature from Jekyll Island, you're doing yourself and your life a huge disservice. He asked me, like, what about this book? Should I read it? I'm like, you should read it right now. Like, whatever you're doing, start reading it right now. And I think he actually did, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you know what? I'll make a note here to put links in the description for Jekyll Island. We have access for you guys to both the visual version, so you can read it online, and the audio version. Both are free, so you guys can just go ahead and check it out there. So I'll make sure I put the links for Jekyll Island in the description below.
It's a good eye-opening book. So it feels good.
It really, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Feels good.
It's so amazing. It feels conspiratorial, right? Like
yes.
And for a lot of time, I think for a long time, because I think the book originally was written in the 70s, and I think a lot of people tried to dismiss it as conspiracy, but as the author kept pursuing and more stuff started to come out, We find out that nope, he's 100% accurate. This Jekyll Island really did happen, and that's where we got the Fed from. So
Yeah, it came out 1994.
oh, 94. Ooh, I was
Yeah,
off. Okay.
because I was gonna say there's some things he references that are like happened recently.
Well,
So,
I
yeah.
know there's an updated version. I thought that's just
Oh,
what he
okay.
did.
Okay, I got you. Maybe. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So conspiracies. That book sounds conspiratorial. Is that the word you used?
I
It's a
would
good
that
word.
would be the word I would use for this
Nice.
particular book. Yeah. But it's a
Okay.
good
So
read, and it, like you said, Julian or Julius.
Julius.
Julius, like Julius said, it is an eye opener, folks. You need to check it out. It's really, you will not look at the dollar in your pocket the same way again. I promise you.
It's pretty nuts. And with that, I think that's a good opening to the show because this is kind of about conspiracy theories, and I think I'm a conspiracy theorist now. Like it's starting to drive me a little bit crazy. The question of the day is, how do I know what's a scam or not? And I kind of want to talk about that. And if you think Bitcoin is a scam, you're already thinking critically. That's a good thing, right? Wouldn't you
That's a good
agree?
place to start.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, I did honestly until you sat me down, and I think honestly the only reason I even listened to you is because you and I had had such good conversations before. But yeah, prior to you really kind of like turning my eye to it, I really did. I was like, that just looks like nonsense to me. That looks
Hmm.
like people are just throwing good money after bad, you know?
I agree. And I think, I just kind of want to open with the thought of we all thought Bitcoin was a scam because when you look at your social media or news articles that are directed at you, and you read one article that says Bitcoin is bad, then right away you just say, okay, Bitcoin is bad, and whatever anybody else is saying is they're stupid, and I'm just gonna people tend to go with what seems more true and what seems more obvious. And the idea that Bitcoin could actually change the world sounds makes you sound like a crazy person. And the idea that it's just fake and lame
Yeah.
is it's easier for the mind to comprehend. It's like, oh, this is just some stupid thing that somebody made. It's not going to work.
Right.
And that
Or
bothers me.
or you know, I think the problem I think with Bitcoin in terms of, although I saw it, you probably saw it this week too. Somebody posted something that was really interesting, and I'll just jump on it real fast. But part of the problem with Bitcoin is that it's so ethereal. Like, okay, so if you don't know much about computers, you've already kind of like, you're already behind the eight ball in terms of trusting it, you know.
Hmm.
And then they
Yeah.
start talking about what it is and about how, you know, it's not really, you know, it's and you look at it and you go, oh, this is made up money. This is just made up money,
Hmm.
right? So if you don't have a proper context for it, you know, then it becomes, yeah, it just becomes really
It's
hard to buy into.
it's easier to dismiss than it is to accept.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
that's what I want to say. That's good.
So,
That's a good way of saying it.
So when I like to give money to homeless people when I'm passing by them, and lately, whenever I see somebody that's homeless, and I'll give them a $5 or whatever, I say, "Hey, have you heard about Bitcoin or have you researched this?" And I passed by a guy at Walmart. I was like, "Here you go, man. Hey, by the way, do you have access to internet? Can you look up Bitcoin?" And he's like, "No, I don't know technology things." I'm like, "Just take a little bit of time." Try and figure it out. It's going to be worth your while. The homeless situation worldwide right now is absolutely terrible, and it's very concerning. So and that's another thing people look at, and they see a homeless person and they just assume that they're a bad guy or that they're a drug addict or that they're a murderer. And I really that's one of the stigmas that I'm hoping that goes away in the future. It's so easy to dismiss them, and when you're growing up, you know, maybe your parents tells you, "Oh, don't look at them. They're not good people." And then you get into a situation in your life where it's like, "Oh, hey, if I can't pay rent this month, I don't have anywhere to live." And that's going to happen to more and more people over the next more few years because people's money is getting harder and harder to get. So, don't write anybody off. I don't write anybody off depending on their life situation, because if you think somebody's smarter than you because they have more money, or you think somebody's worth less than you because they're living on the street, you're an asshole. So either way, if you listen to somebody just because they have a PhD or whatever, then you're not thinking for yourself, and that's kind of what I want to start getting people to think. Just think for yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
You covered a lot of ground there, man.
I know I got a lot on my mind.
Yeah, you're gonna have to focus a little bit, my friend. No, everybody knows by now I'm a Christian, and we do a lot of charity work and stuff like that, and it's not because I want to, I don't know, whatever. Some people kind of get off on doing charity work, I guess, but for me, it's genuinely, it hurts my heart to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That being said, I may be a Christian, but I'm also a realist, and I have watched dudes panhandling with the signs and everything else, and then literally go and get into a car nicer than mine and drive away. So
yeah, that does happen. How do I know if this is a scam or not?
I was just going to say, see how I'm tying it back into question of the day? How do I know if it's a scam or not?
Well played.
So, yeah. I'm trying to help, man. I'm trying to be a helpful co-host here.
You're crushing it. I appreciate that. Well, okay, so what else did we want to talk about? The idea... Okay, so how do I know if it's a scam or not? Well, I kind of want to talk about... I want to talk a little bit about social media and what I've gone through over the last few months. I was on something called Streamer Twitter, and you would see a lot of people with the same opinions, and it's so easy to follow those opinions. Would you agree? Maybe you're a special example, because I know that you've always been sort of outside the box.
I agree with you that Streamer Twitter is very homogenous. It's very very myopic would be the word I would use. I was never...
Define that for the listeners.
Myopic just means single eye.
Okay, yeah.
Like in the actual Latin, it just means you just have one eye. But I didn't really fall for it per se or fall into it. Like I always kept my distance on it, but at the same time, I always felt like I couldn't say anything because
that's the problem.
The hammer comes down swift and hard if you do not fall in with that particular line of thinking. So,
yes.
Yeah,
it makes
that actually got presented to me really, really quickly and badly at the beginning of last year, which is right around the time I stopped streaming. I had somebody call me out for something. I can't remember quite what it was. But then, like, everybody started piling on me. And I had people I had never spoken to ever calling me a racist piece of shit, and they hoped I died. And I was just like, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. If I can't just express... yeah, pretty much. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
well, I think the concern here is that the idea of freedom of speech and freedom of thought is so important to certain people, and then to other people, I don't know. I the way I see the world is there's like people that think for themselves, and then there's people that just kind of follow the herd. And I don't want to say things like, "Oh, these sheep people," but like it really is these sheep people. Like if you're a sheep, and saying things like "wake up," it's so stupid, but it's so true. So everybody that just I can't think of an example right now, but somebody says something and then somebody agrees with them, whether they believe it or not, but just because they want to fit in and stick into the status quo. So, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the C word, the C19 word, because there's a thing going on that I've seen.
C19 word. Oh, the coof.
The coof. So
the coof. Okay.
So there's some issues going on. I saw a video where you see
you want to have a laugh? I genuinely couldn't figure out what you were talking about for a second.
The C
word. That's how much is not part of my life anymore. I just don't care.
Yeah.
So you said that, I'm just like, I was like thinking about like spinal columns and stuff, like the C19 spinal like whatever. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So this was a blast in the face for me of how obvious the two sides are. And it was a video of there's a woman walking down the street, she doesn't have a mask on, and two cops stop and start beating her with nightsticks. And it's terrifying. And you look at, like, I'm very authoritarian. I don't want any cops. I'm not a fan of cops. So I look at that video and my first thought is, wow, that's brutal. Like, she's just walking. This is terrible. And I saw a lot of people agreeing with
Wait,
my
let me
train of
guess.
thought.
Can I guess what you saw?
Okay, yeah, of course.
You saw people on the opposite side going, well, she should have worn a mask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
retweeted it and they just said this is porn. And it's like, how can you? So here's my problem is that people are literally fighting for their rights to be free, and it's gotten so out of hand that people are making fun of the idea of fighting for your rights. Like, that's what's scary to me. It's so scary. So if you're one of those people that are just like, well, just do the thing that they say, you got to check yourself and start looking into what's really going on, because if you think it's okay to just let your freedoms go away, it's so
the thing of it
bad.
is that if you're the type of person that would say, well, just put on the mask, do a little thought experiment. Like, I don't want to piss in anybody's Cheerios, okay? Like, I get it. People are scared of the coof. That's fine. If you choose to be, I have plenty of data that says you probably shouldn't be, especially given your age. But if you want to be, okay, that's fine. But do a little thought experiment and do the same thing with the girl who's getting beaten with billy clubs for not wearing a mask, but now put her in a position where she was wearing a mask, but she was doing something that you do every day. Okay? Let's say you smoke. Okay? And now it's a thing where the cops just start beating you if you're smoking. You know what I mean? Like, put that, because I guess my point is at a certain point with authoritarianism, which is what you were describing there, at some point that authoritarianism will turn towards you. You will never totally be out of that loop. It's just never going to happen. At some point, you're going to do something that somebody else doesn't like. And you just better pray that they aren't the ones holding the billy clubs. You know, that's the way I kind of see it. So,
and that's what it is. It's that saying where, well, they came for these people, but I didn't fight back because it wasn't me. And then they came for these people, and I didn't fight back because it wasn't me. And then eventually they're going to come for you.
It always, historically, it always happens. You know,
and,
this is not conspiracy theory, kids.
It does sound conspiracy theory. It's so frustrating that it sounds.
But
like
if you look at
theory.
any time in history, I mean, look at what happened in the French Revolution, right? It starts off with, okay, we're going after the bigwigs in the frilly collars, and by the end, dude, they're just killing anybody that looks at them wrong. You know. And it always happens. The Bolsheviks, pick any sort of, hysterical time in history. Hitler's Germany, Salem witch trials. It doesn't matter. Once that sort of group think starts to gain ground and starts rolling, everyone's game. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's why freedom of speech is so important, so that somebody can stand up freely and say, whoa, maybe the idea of guillotining, Pierre over here, the shoe cobbler, he probably didn't have a whole lot to do with the bourgeoisie, like maybe we could let him live, and if people need to be able to say stuff like that and check it without fear of reprisal, like that's the entire concept of free speech. So
yeah, and it goes back to that theory of these people just listen, and it's about doing what you're told, and following orders and all these things. When you grow up in a school system that tells you, do what the teacher says. Why do I do it? Well, because they told you to. Okay, go get a job. What's my job? To do this. Why do I have to do this? Because I told you to. Okay, wear a mask. Why do I have to wear a mask? Because I told you to. Okay, well, just do it. You should do it. It's like, well, just question. Like, this podcast is about questioning everything. And if it comes to a point where the masks are a good idea, then I'll say okay. And I've known quite a few people that have gotten COVID, and they're fine.
I had COVID.
I know somebody that got COVID and did pass away, though, so I've seen both sides.
Oh, sure.
And it is scary, and it's sad to lose somebody. But to that I say, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking, most people's fears just come from the fear of death. And once you realize you're gonna die, you feel a lot better. And I
Oh,
came to that realization. You just have to realize
wow, dude.
you get one life,
We're,
man.
we're 20 minutes in and you are black pilling the hell out of the audience right now. Just calm down.
What does black pilling mean?
As far as I understand, it's like a nihilistic take on everything. You're going to die
Okay.
anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter.
So I was a nihilist for a long time, and then I found out
Uh-huh.
but I wasn't a nihilist. I was an optimistic nihilist, which is where you're just like nothing really matters, so just enjoy it. And that's kind of how I like to live my life. I've since realized, you know what? Maybe just things do matter. Maybe you can make a difference. And it feels a lot better to make a difference, which is what I want to do with this show, which is what I want to do with Bitcoin, which is what I want to do with educating people and moving
Well, yeah,
society
yeah. And
forward.
who was saying, was that Pomp this week was saying, I saw a clip of him talking about how believing in Bitcoin is optimism and believing in shit coins is nihilism or
It was American Hodl.
self-deprecation.
Yeah.
Was it American Hodl that said that?
He's the
Okay.
best, man. I love that dude. American Hodl,
Yeah.
if you're listening to this ever, I want you on the show 100%. I look up to that guy a lot. He talks a lot of funny shit.
Like, I don't want to really get into it with you versus, nihilism, because I obviously, as a Christian, I disagree with that 100%,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't
I'd love to sit down with you and talk to you about Jesus, but that's not
Yeah.
really the point of the podcast either, so
No.
that's fine. But
But the point is,
I think
to
the
know what's a
concept
scam or
is,
not.
yeah. Well, I do want to ask you a question because it popped
Okay.
into my head, and I'm just
Okay.
curious. Okay, I'll say my piece, and you can just bounce off of it. Okay, when I was being raised, okay, my father made a really pointed decision to not tell me because I told you so. I
Mhm.
rarely, if ever, heard do it because I told you to, right? Like there
Mhm.
was my father and my mother too, but obviously, I kind of glom onto the teachings of the father kind of a thing because I'm a boy. Um, he was very deliberate when it came to I am telling you to do this thing because it's dangerous, because I have other concerns, whatever it was. He was very deliberate in making sure that I understood the reasons for his rules, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, were your folks that way? I guess I'm kind of like trying to kind of like paint a psychological profile of the type of person that just blindly listens to,
Okay.
authority. You know what I'm saying?
I actually have a little story that I thought about today that I wanted to tell you. When I was growing up, Daddy wasn't there. I just had a single mom. She's the best, but her main thing was just getting me to do well in school and get good grades and be a good student. So I remember being in grade, and I thought of this because I was going through, I went to her house the other day. She had a box of my old school stuff. And one of them was this
Okay.
project that I did that has a very it's one of those vivid memories. Like, when you look back at your school experience, like there's certain little
Mm-hmm.
pinpoints. So this is one of those. It was a project about your future. And it was like, okay, what do you want to do and what are your goals? And my goal, so my friends all had a goal. I want to be a professional soccer player. We're in grade 2, right? We played soccer at recess and everybody wanted to be a professional soccer player. And my goal was I want to do well in school. And one of my friends was like, "Ha, you're a loser. Why would you want to do that?" And then we had to present it in front of the whole school. It was a poster board. And when I went up to read it, everybody would read what they were doing. And I went up to read mine. And it clearly said, I want to do well in school. But when I said it, I said, I want to be a professional soccer player. Because I was so scared. I was so
Right?
scared to say how I felt and what I wanted to do. And then I
Yeah,
also
but dude, how old are you? 8, 7,
8.
something like
Yeah,
that?
but
Yeah.
little things like that you remember, right? So
Right.
but I always wondered, like, why am I doing well in school? Why does this matter? And when I was in high school, I would ache for Fridays, man. Monday, I'd be like, oh, I hate Mondays, but at least it's almost Tuesday, and Tuesday means we're halfway to Wednesday, and Wednesday means we're halfway through the week, and then it's Thursday, and then it's Friday, and then it's the weekend again. And I wasted so many years of my high school life just dreading 5 out of 7 days of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And after all of that thought, I was just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And what's the point of it? So I've since changed my mind to just try and enjoy every day of my life. Like, I just really try and get the best out of every day, which is at the beginning of this podcast. I was like, yeah, Mondays are awesome. It's the start of the week. You get to get in contact with a lot of people. You can start something new instead of just waiting around until Friday to sit around and get wasted and cry your problems.
But why do you think you're the type of person that when Justin Trudeau says you need to wear a mask or whatever, I don't know his accent, whatever.
Okay.
I don't know why it was Russian.
Did you see my tweet? Because I kind of want to.
No. No.
Okay. Can I bring this up?
I'm just curious as to why you are the type of person. You see where I'm going with this? I want to understand why people like, because you and I have. Okay, so here's the big thing for me. You and I have very different takes on freedom, but we're both pro freedom. Like that's kind of our. That's like our overarching guideline, right? Like, if it's freedom, I'm for it, right? So, like, you can be a nihilist. I don't care because you're free to do that. You know what I mean? So, people who are okay with other people telling them you're not allowed to be free, I'm really curious to what is the psychology of that? You know what I mean? Like, because I think that spins right back into the type of person that is going to be pro Bitcoin, because you're already kind of looking for the way out of like an oppressive system per se. Like, I don't want to get too, whiny about it or whatever, right? But like, you already, if you're pro freedom, you're looking at the systems that are in the world right now, and you're going, these systems are not pro freedom. In a lot of cases, they're actually anti freedom. So, what is the type of person that is already seeing the problems with the world and then turns and looks at Bitcoin and goes, see, that's a solution. That is something I can kind of sink my teeth into, and I can believe in this. And that's the type of person that gets crazy. Like, eventually everyone's going to have to adopt Bitcoin, right? But if you look almost to the man, like every person that I'm reading, every person that I'm listening to, that I'm reading tweets from, they are all pro-freedom first and foremost, which is why I feel like I've come home. You know what I mean? When I'm getting into like Bitcoin Twitter and stuff like that, you start to read people and you go, man, we don't agree on stuff, but we both agree on this one big thing. And this is the biggest thing, you know? And I'm really curious as to how that works in people's heads. Like, how do you think it's okay for you not to be free? You know what I mean? Like, that's so weird to me.
So this is where I really come from. I'm not left wing and I'm not right wing. I'm aggressively central. That actually comes from me being kind of anarchistic. Like, I don't want any political party to be in power. But I've been generally, I always get them confused. What's the one that like twitches? Is that left?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was left-wing for the majority of my life, where I'm just like, yeah, this seems good, guns are killing kids, so take the guns away from kids, and or take guns away from everybody, and there's a pandemic going on, so let's all wear masks, and it just seemed like it was the right choice because it seemed safe with the information you're given, and it goes back to just being on a single track of social media. When you're in social media and all your friends are the same thoughts as you, one, you only see your thoughts. Two, when you see any thought come from the other side of the political spectrum, everybody that's in your crew is calling those people crazy. So it doesn't, and I've seen it on both sides, right? So what you have to do is remove yourself from that, and this is the other thing that drives me crazy is people say like, well, if you don't agree with me, I'm blocking you. And it's like, what are you doing? So when I moved to get a new job, the guy I'm working with, he's against the COVID lockdowns and all this sort of thing. And people ask me like, oh, are you really going to work with that guy? He seems like a crazy. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to work with him. I want to know why he feels this way. Like, how else am I going to figure out why? Like, there's a reason people think that way. And there's a reason people think the other way. The only way you can get that information is by talking directly to people. When people get in groups, there's one opinion like, hey, guns are bad or guns are good, but every individual has their reasons why, and it's better to talk to individuals. So
do they?
Yeah.
See, so. I would make the argument if you talk to 95% of streamer Twitter, They won't have reasons.
That's what I mean.
They just
Yeah.
won't.
So that's my problem. Is there's one side that is just going with the sheep, to say that sort of words again, that saying, and then the other side is just like, yo, I'm just, all of this looks like shit. I just want to live my life the way I want to live it. And then that's where I started realizing, like, oh yeah, that's how I want to live my life. I want to make my own choices. I want to be responsible for myself. Like, to bring this back to Bitcoin, everybody on the left is so excited about these stimulus checks and the idea of UBI and the idea of sharing the wealth and taxing the rich. And when you look at the other side, people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they know that if they give their tax dollars to the government, it's not going to the poor people. And if they just share their wealth with everybody, it's just going to end up back with in the stocks and back to the rich side of the world. You can't fix a problem by just throwing money at it, ever, like, full stop.
Well, I mean, unless I'm the problem. You could throw money at me, Jeff, if you wanted to. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, but you would know how to use it strategically.
I would buy more Bitcoin.
Exactly, right? Exactly. That's all I'm going to do ever. But, you know, like, these people are just like, my life's been hard. People should take care of me. And there's all this money to go around. So why don't I get it? And that's a terrible ideology to have. The best way to live a prosperous life is to take responsibility for yourself and your actions and your consequences at that, which is why the idea of masks is kind of because you're saying,
God dang it, you keep swearing. I gotta check.
I know. I think we just let the swears go. I don't know, man.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm writing it down.
Okay, you're the MVP of this podcast for sure. I'm just the
Thank
shit
you.
talker.
Thank you. I love you.
There's a major difference between telling somebody to wear a mask for their safety or forcing somebody to wear a mask for their safety. It's like, I can choose whether I get sick or not. I just want that choice. If I go out and I get COVID and I die, well, I'm going to live with that consequence. I just want that option. And I agree with that across the board. That comes down to, you know, anything. If you want to.
No, we've talked about that before. We talked about drugs. We talked about whatever. Absolutely. I want to challenge you with something. Okay. I want you to look up a book. Okay, this was very informative to me in terms of understand. This was me getting red pilled before red pill was even a thing. Okay, I want you to look up a book called the 5,000 Year Leap. Okay,
you can post it in the Discord, and the links to the 5,000 Year Leap will be in the Discord. You can follow us.
5,000 year, making a note, leap. Okay, so here's why I want to bring that up, because you keep bringing up left and right, left and right, left and right. Okay. That is a fundamental misconception, okay? If you look at left versus right, okay? So like in traditional America, right? Left and right means Democrat or Republican, okay? Mm-hmm. But if you actually look at how the founders of the country viewed left and right, take out a piece of paper, okay? And on one side of let's say on the left side of the page, you write the word anarchy, okay? And on the right side of the page, and everybody at home, you can do this really quickly too, you can write authoritarianism, okay? So all along that line, okay, you're basically, if you draw a line between the two words, okay, and you consider that a spectrum, you are basically, any form of government is somewhere on that line. Okay, doesn't matter what it is. You can be a fascist, you can be a socialist, you can be
communist,
representative republic, whatever. Okay,
libertarian, all that stuff.
Right. So the dead center obviously is like the perfect balance. Okay,
that's what I am. Perfect.
And you're not, because actually dead center still isn't good. Okay, but if you actually look at Republicans or Democrats or the traditional left and right, as it actually. Technically, if you really go into it, traditional left is actually more right than today's right. But that's another story. So the point is, Republicans and Democrats in America basically sit to the right of the middle of that line, okay? And Democrats sit a little closer to authority than Republicans, okay? But they're still closer to authority than they are to anarchy.
So,
And the founders of this country, actually, what they wanted was to produce a system that sat midway between the midpoint and anarchy. They really valued the idea that there wasn't a lot of authority, that there was more freedom than not, but they also didn't want pure anarchy, because pure anarchy literally means you have to defend your land. You know what I mean? Like you can't, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. You cannot evolve as a species, as a society, if I can't leave my property because I'm afraid bandits will come in and steal my stuff and rape and kill my wife and children. I can't progress as a society. You know, so you have to have something that isn't pure anarchy. You have to have like just a little step to the right in order to.
In your opinion.
Well, again, just look at history. Pure anarchy is pure anarchy. It is the survival of the fittest. It is the strongest will wins, and that is not a society that progresses. That is a society that essentially eats itself over time.
Well, I don't think that, I mean, we can talk about that a bit if you want. That's the government we used up until we started actually getting civilized and we made our way this far.
What we haven't had pure anarchy on this planet for thousands of years.
That's what I mean. But just like humans, Neanderthals and all that stuff, they didn't have political parties. They just...
This is why you need to read the 5,000-year leap, though.
Okay,
because so the argument becomes once we reach that sweet spot. So what they did is he does this really quick study, and he goes, look, if you take all of the scientific and sociological advances between like 5,000 BC and like 1700, right? Or whatever, no, it would be like 3000 BC and the 1700s AD, okay? You add all those up, and then all of a sudden America hits, and this brilliant idea of representative republic hits, and then all of a sudden you see this massive explosion in innovation, in technology, in sciences, in freedoms. Like, all it took was just that unlocking at this, in the, the 1776, to suddenly there's this massive explosion around the world. And it's this idea of freedom. And it's this perfect balance between limited government, right? And the will of the people just being allowed to explode and also being protected by the government, right? So we don't have this pure anarchy that's holding everybody back, but you have this innovation.
But do you know what? Okay, can I step in? Do you know what a major factor in that is? The size or the group of people that were involved. Because back then we had like how the states work, where it's each one runs itself, and it worked better, and every 50 states took control of themselves, which is why Texas is going up and California is going down right now. Whereas in Canada, we have our 12 province or whatever it is, 10 provinces and 3 territories. But they all kind of rule under the same rule. And when you get to a group of people that is 300 million strong or 30 million strong in Canada, that's too many people for one person to take care of. So my ideal situation would be going back to where you have these very, very small democracies. You like literally talking a township where, hey, this town goes by this rules and this guy's in charge, and everybody kind of agrees with that. But eventually that starts to grow. And
read the 5,000-year leap, because
I think
they talk about the idea of republicanism, right? And so for those of you guys that are listening that don't know, America is not a democracy. It's never been a democracy. Okay? It was and always was meant to be a representative republic. Okay? And a republic is the concept of the idea of what Jeff is talking about right there. Okay? Basically, a republic is you have small cells of people, small groups, and we call them states in the United States, okay, where local issues are dealt with on a local level. And then there's the federal side of it, okay, that it takes care of the big ticket items, should theoretically, right? In theory, the federal government was only supposed to basically secure the borders and secure interstate commerce. That was about it. Okay, it's been bastardized since then, but it's exactly what Jeff is talking about. Was the original concept was this idea that the best government is small local government, and I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
And so the opposite, I mean, I don't know if this is a perfect opposite, but the opposite of a republic is a monarchy, and that's what they were trying to get out of with England. And it's debatable whether a monarchy is a good idea, if just one family should just run the show and everybody can be their servants. Because now we have these republics that are getting out of hand, and the people that get elected think that they are monarchs or dictators. Like, if you look at North Korea, if you go to North Korea, it's called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, I think is what they call it.
There's nothing democratic or republic.
Exactly,
but
but it's not a monarchy, so it's still a republic.
Well, that's just false advertising, Jeff. That's just false advertising.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's what the United States and that's what Canada's doing. It's the same thing. They're saying we're a democracy, we're a republic, but really the people don't have a choice. Having a choice between two people is not a choice. It's not a choice. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta. No,
I hear what you're saying, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Again, I guess all I want to really bring to light is number one. I guess I'm kind of defending my country a little bit. Okay, not in its current form, but in the idea that I still believe, right? Even though I have been pretty much red-pilled on everything at this point, I really do believe that the founding ideas of this country were really well thought out. They really were done very well. And I think they tried as hard as they could to mitigate the corruption factor of government, because government's corrupt. It's just what they do. So I think they tried really hard. And I think there's been a gradual, steady decline. Well, there's been a gradual and steady decline of people caring and people being self-educated, and a gradual and steady incline of corruption and graft and everything else on the political level. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes. It's like when it first started, there were two lines going left to right, right? And as long as those two lines kind of stayed in the middle, everybody wins. But what happens is the bottom line went down and people got stupider and cared less. And the top line went up and corruption went up with it, and graft so.
I don't know if I've said this theory or what I've learned about before, but it's the fall of the empire and how long an empire lasts. And if you look at America as being, have we talked about that on this show?
No, but it's definitely something I've been studying. Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting when you look at the Roman Empire, or even Egyptian, or any of these Greece as well. When you look back at them, they lasted a certain amount of time. I think it's like 250 years, and America has been in charge for roughly 250 years, and you can literally look at what happens throughout their ages. Like, okay, they got independence, and then they made a system that worked, and then people got comfortable, and then they ran the world, and then they were so strong that people could start being more lax, and the people that were in charge could start being more authoritative because the people were not stressed about anything. And then we started thinking it was a good idea to take pictures of our food and post it on Instagram because we literally had nothing to worry about.
And we made chef celebrities.
And we made chef celebrities, and then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, now somebody's going to take over because all these people are just simply idiots. And that's where we're at right now. And it's happened time and time again. And what happens is a lot of death, like straight up people die. There's not enough supply of food and water and all these things to go around, and let them eat cake thing. That happens.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I think you go.
So if you're listening to this now, dear listener, and you've already kind of, I don't know, maybe tuned out, you're like, these guys are nut jobs. You might as well, buy some stock in aluminum foil and everything else. But here's the thing: look up the phrase "bread and circuses." Okay, bread and circuses is the defining factor of a civilization in decline. Okay. And that's where we're at right now in America. If you look at it, look, what do people care about? They care about things like The Bachelor, which is the most asinine, like vapid, The Bachelor, The Kardashians. They just care about
TV.
Any reality TV, just as long as they get a check and as long as they're entertained. By the way, Jeff, have you seen Idiocracy?
You know what? I tried watching it and I was like, I kind of get the premise. I don't know if I can sit through this whole thing, but I might watch it again.
Go watch it again, dude. It's
I'm
worth it. It's oh yeah, Terry Crews. He's amazing in that, dude. Come on, he's the best.
I have issues with movies because if it's not a documentary, I'm an old man. I fall asleep to everything.
First of all, I'm like a decade older than you, and second of all,
that's true. You're very old.
Second of all, there's something to be said for art and what it can say about the human condition, and you should appreciate that, okay? Because quite frankly, if things keep going the way they're going, there's not going to be any human expression in art. It's all going to be this sterile, like, nonsense. Like, do it, first of all, total caveat. Do a study of, like, what is it called? Like design art, like construction art, and as a construction guy, you should know this, right? Like, look at the sculptures and like the foyers, of like old buildings. Foyer, right? Look at the difference between like modern architecture and like Renaissance period architecture. Okay, like that should tell you all you need to know about what's happening to the human race right now. It's ridiculous. So, man, we have tangented so hard.
It's good. That's what the show is about.
Yep. It's about questioning everything, even why Bitcoin.
It's about even why Bitcoin. So why Bitcoin? Okay, here. This is a good way to get back to why Bitcoin. So with that said about like all the reality TV, I think, and this hurts my feelings to say it. Like my feelings like are hurt, but video games fall in that category too. And me and you,
they do.
For listeners that don't know, we used to run not a long-lasting podcast that was about video games, and you can talk about video games forever. There's so much to know, there's so much to learn, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. It's just another thing to sit in front of a screen and kill your time. And I was having a hard time with video games because I'm like, I knew I was wasting time. I couldn't take it anymore. So when I started looking at Bitcoin, and why I wanted to call this show Why Bitcoin is not that I love Bitcoin. It's that it opens your eyes to you wake up. You sheeple wake up. It opens your eyes to just so many things that are actually going on in the world and society and how humanity works and how we evolve. And so almost everything can come back to Bitcoin and how it's going to either save the same or save the pattern that we've been on for centuries, or if Bitcoin doesn't end up working out, then we'll just go through the exact same pattern. The poor will fall away and a new empire will emerge, and it'll be a whole other world for the next 250 years. But if Bitcoin takes off,
hard question for you, before you get too far away from that thought. Do you think that you and I will live to see the fall of the United States as we know it?
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. Like, if I'm being completely honest on this show, I think it's within the next year or two. I'm very concerned with.
I don't think it'll be that quick. But
I'm very concerned with Biden's age. Kamala Harris here. I'm putting my hat on because I got to get this. Here's my tinfoil hat on.
That's it. We are officially canceled, friends. We are officially
Biden
canceled.
dies. Kamala Harris takes over. She makes the money printer go burr like a motherfucker. And people are printing money like maniacs. Everybody thinks they're rich as fuck. And then all of a sudden your money means nothing and people are rioting in the streets. I mean, people are already rioting in the streets, but once the money doesn't mean anything and people have lived their whole lives to earn this wage, and all of a sudden Kamala is giving out thousands of dollars a week to try and keep the people alive, it's gonna be a fucking bloodbath, man. I'm terrified for what's about to happen. Okay, that's my tinfoil hat on. Maybe it doesn't happen. I don't know.
No, I agree with you in the sense that you and I will see the fall of the United States. I am a little more positive in terms of I genuinely, because I mean, living here in the States, we are two peoples living under one roof. We're basically two countries. There are two Americas right now, and they're living under one roof. And I have been advocating for at least the last year that we need to find a way to peacefully separate. Okay? Again, I'm about freedom. I don't care if people want to live the way they want to live, that's fine. My problem is that they want me to live the way they want me to live. That's a problem. And there's about a third of the country that thinks like I do. Okay, just look at the voting records. There's about a third of the country that is on the complete opposite side. And then there's a third of the country that doesn't give a shit. They just want to go about their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you actually look at the American Revolution, it was the exact same way. There was a third of the people in the American Revolution that wanted to separate from Britain. There's a third of the people that were sympathetic towards Britain and actually were like spies and everything else for Britain. And then there's a third of the people that are just like, I don't give a shit, you know? So we're at that point. We're at that saturation point. I do think we will see not a fall of America, but maybe what I'm hoping is not a fall. I'm hoping for a restructuring. I'm hoping for, hey, you guys get west of the Mississippi, we get right of the Mississippi, whatever. I don't know, but like I want to see I don't want to see a civil war. I want to see a peaceable separation. But I do think you and I will live to see a whole new North America. It will look very different than what it looks like from right now.
I agree with that completely, and it's going to be an interesting next couple of years for sure. There's going to be changes that happen, and if you choose not to buy Bitcoin, if you choose not to partake in the Bitcoin's program, then you'll be provided your food, you'll be provided your water, and you'll be provided whatever you need, and somebody will tell you it's going to be all in communism. That's where it's going. So there's going to be.
I would have to say there's just not going to be enough money. There's just not, or not any. I shouldn't say money. There's going to be plenty of money, but there isn't going to be
enough workers.
Value. Yeah, not enough value.
Okay, here, let me just explain how Canada is falling right now, because I'm a little bit nervous about what's happening on something I tweet. I'm just going to explain how Canada's going down right now. Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, tweeted this out 3 hours ago. Okay, I'm just going to read it off. Now is not the time to travel, period. If you have plans to head somewhere for the long weekend, cancel them, period. There are other safer ways for you to connect with your family and friends, period. For those who need to travel, take note of measures that are in place for when you return to Canada. As follows. If you are flying back into the country, you need to show a negative PCR test result before you board the plane. When you land, you'll need to take an additional PCR test. You'll then have to wait at an approved hotel and at your own expense for your results to come back. If your results come back negative for COVID-19, you'll be able to head home and finish your mandatory quarantine there. If your test results come back positive, you'll need to immediately quarantine at designated government facilities, period. This is not optional, period. That to me is fucking terrifying. And that's where you get into the point where people are like, oh, stop fighting for freedom. Just do what Justin tells you. It's like, no, he's telling you what you can do on your country. And when you look at the Canadian Charter of Rights, comparable to the American, what's the American one called?
The Bill of Rights?
Sure, whatever it is. So the Canadian Charter of Rights, it says it right there. A Canadian is free to travel in this country as they please. You're free to leave and you're free to come back in at any time so long as you have a Canadian citizenship. So by him saying when you come in you have to take this mandatory test, you have to stay in these mandatory government facilities, that's authoritarianism. And now what I tweeted, which I'm getting a little bit nervous at, I tweeted back at him.
Oh Jesus, no.
I said,
what did you do?
I said, Daddy Fidel really rubbing off on you, Justin?
Daddy what?
Fidel Castro.
Oh, Daddy Fidel.
So okay. If you look at it, Fidel Castro was his father for sure, and Fidel Castro was the leader of Cuba. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he was pretty authoritative. That's got 118 likes.
Fidel? Oh, he was a big teddy bear. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't even know, but I'm terrified. It's got 118 likes and 6 retweets. I think that's my biggest tweet ever. And I'm like, oh,
dude, pimp the show. Pimp the show.
Yeah, so I should, I should.
I mean, God, if you got to use that social credit score while you can, man. Damn.
You got to do it, yeah. Anyways, so some people, and just to bring it back around and then we'll move on, is some people will read that and be like, this is great. Justin's really taking care of our borders and keeping everybody safe. And then people are saying, hey, this is terrifying. I don't want to be locked up simply for coming back into my own country. So make your own choice. Think about what makes more sense to you. To me, that's a scary thing to hear a prime minister stay in a so-called free country. Yeah. Well,
I think honestly, by this point, if you're still listening, you're going to agree with what I'm going to say here. So I think we've probably weeded out anybody who would have a contrarian view. But if you can't understand that health is the new frontier in terms of control, then there's not much help for you, because they have figured out, they, quote unquote, the big quote unquote they have figured out that if we can scare people and we can make it a health crisis, we can get away with almost anything. And that spins right back into the idea of, how do I know this is a scam or not? Because if I have quote-unquote scientists who are paid in government grants by politicians, right? And they're spinning science that says this is a health scare, that is a health scare, this is a pandemic, this is whatever. How do you know? How do you know that it's not just people following their paychecks? You know what I mean? Yeah. And at that point, you have to really kind of go back to the whole, like, rudimentary philosophical roots, which talk about the idea of, like, if you look at, like, early philosophy, those guys were concerned with what is reality, what is perception, you know? And you have to start studying those things. You have to start going back to those perceptions, those rudimentary, fundamental building blocks of logic, of philosophy, because everything, we've had thousands of years since those guys, since Socrates, since Aristotle, since all of those folks, that people have been trying to perfect the idea of manipulating that philosophy, manipulating that perception. And you have to, whether it's you're talking about Bitcoin, or you're talking about freedom, or you're talking about, I don't know, monetary policy, whatever, or whether or not the Kardashians are a good TV show, whatever you're talking about, you guys have to, and I'm saying you guys have to, like I'm an authoritarian, whatever, you have to start looking at the world with a critical eye. And that goes to, and here's the thing, if you really want the red flag, okay, people that you can trust, in my view, are the people that will say, take what I'm saying and go check it out. Yeah. Go do your own research on what I'm saying right here, right now. The people you can't trust, that cannot trust, are people that say, take what I'm saying and just do it. Don't look at it. Don't ask questions. Just do it.
And what we're telling you to do is don't question us. Just listen.
No, Jeff, damn it. That was a good point I was making. No,
it's good, because now it's a double negative, because now you're saying, if we're saying that, you should not trust us. And then by saying not trust, we've created a paradox.
Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're doing there.
Nice.
But guys, it really is an important thing. And it honestly, the battle, and I'm going to say this, and I hope someday someone will quote me on this one. The battle for the human mind is the last battlefield. That is the battlefield of today. and everyone is waging the war. Whether you know it or not, you're part of the war. You're part of the battle. And the victory is your mind.
A little cringe, but I'm going to let you get away with it.
Well, you know what? I'm feeling the scotch. It's good. But the point is...
I appreciate it.
If you go ahead.
You have to take responsibility for yourself. That's what it comes down to, right?
Did you really think that was cringe? I thought it was pretty good, actually. Because I made it up on the spot.
The battle for your mind is on the battlefield of love and hate.
No, I didn't say love. What the hell? What? You can't say it's cringe and then like revamp it. That's not fair. All right, let's move on.
Okay, hey, you know what? Bitcoin has prices. Do you want to check what they are?
Should we do a price check?
We can do a price check.
All right.
Here, I'll throw it over to you to shout out the shout out of the day.
Oh, yeah. So, real quick, this week's Bitcoin price check is brought to you by a really cool app that I came up with this week. And by the way, I'm gonna not only tell you guys about it, but I'm gonna ask you guys a favor. I want you guys to check out an app called Breeze. That's Breez. Okay. Now, this week's Why Bitcoin is actually brought to you by the dude, whoever it was last week that listened to this show, and he gifted us 47 Satoshi to listen to the show.
Hey-o.
So what Breeze is Breeze is a peer-to-peer, for the most part, it's a peer-to-peer Bitcoin transfer protocol. Okay, so you can take your Bitcoin. I think maybe you can take fiat and buy Bitcoin. I'm not quite sure, but you can put your Bitcoin into Breeze. Okay, and then you can, using the Lightning Network, you can go ahead and you can transfer your Bitcoin to anybody or any organization in the world. One of the things they started doing, I think it was about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, and why Bitcoin got in early, because I want to be an early adopter on this kind of tech, is you can now list. They have introduced a new tab in their app for podcasts, and you can check out a bunch of podcasts. Okay, a whole bunch. There's like the Orange Pill podcast and a bunch of others that are really cool. You guys should definitely check them all out because they're all pretty much free. But here's the thing: what you can do, and this is the game changer for me, is you can go ahead and you can do one of two things. You can either boost, what they call boost, which is basically a tip, or you can set a by the minute fee that will be transferred to the podcast you're listening to. So let's say you're listening to a really good podcast like Why Bitcoin, and you're like, wow, these guys, they're like spot on. I think I'm going to transfer them like 10 Satoshi a minute, right? And you go ahead and you plug that in, and then as you're listening, it literally just siphons it, right out of your account and puts it into the podcasters of your choice, the one you're listening to. It helps support them. I think that is really cool. I think it's going to be the future of, like, it's basically like a DeFi kind of situation, but it is on the Lightning Bitcoin network, and I think it's going to be the future in terms of finding, because right now, here's the problem. If Jeff and I are going to get paid, quote unquote, to do a podcast, right, we have to do a couple of one or two things, right? We have to find a sponsor, or we have to go through like Anchor.fm, which has been great. I like Anchor.fm, but the fact is, if we were to run advertising, which you guys have never heard an ad on the show so far,
except for fake ones.
Except for fake ones. Anchor takes something like 40% of any ad revenue we would ever get, right? So with this new Breeze, right, with their podcast hosting, it's something like 0.1% as opposed to like 40%, right? And it's all in Bitcoin, it's not in fiat. So we're not only supporting a really cool tech that is Breeze, but then you're supporting us, and you're supporting the entire ecosystem of crypto and Bitcoin, which I think it's going to be a game changer, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So Breeze, thank you very much. And whoever did that 47 sats last week, man, that is so cool. It was so cool to get the notification. Honestly, like, I was just giddy. I was like, 47 sats.
Giddy for Satoshis.
Right? 47 Satoshis, baby. I mean, it's like 0.005 Bitcoin, or $0.005, I guess.
Zillion dollars in a couple weeks, so don't
Right,
don't worry
right.
about it.
But
Here,
no.
actually, that's a great way to go about. Let's see, what would 47 satoshis be worth? What's a full Bitcoin worth?
What is it? Yeah, let's talk about that here. So
Okay,
let's
so-
do a Bitcoin price check. Why Bitcoin presents your weekly price check.
Do you have so a Bitcoin, or do you have the guesses from last
I
week?
do.
Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
I do. I read them now.
Do you want to read them off now, or do you?
Yeah,
I'll read.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, sadly, I think I'm going to have to give up the mantle. I think Jeff actually won after 2 weeks reigning on top. I think Jeff won. So
but it was a
Jeff
close
had.
Well, here
Jeff
I'll read
had
I'll read what a Bitcoin is in Canada. If you want
Well,
to buy,
let me just say what we had down first.
Okay, we'll explain.
Right.
Explain first. We play a game where we guess what the price of a Bitcoin is going to be next week as we're recording,
Right.
and then the winner receives a point. The points can be redeemed for smiles later.
And big hugs.
Big
So
hugs.
last week Jeff said that Bitcoin at the time of recording, which would be tonight, he said it was going to be $63,549.92 US dollars. I said that Bitcoin was going to be 63,947.5. So, with that in mind, the current value of Bitcoin, as I pull up my Coinbase.pro,
I'll
is
quickly tell you in Canadian loonies first, because that's the one everybody
ahead.
really cares about. In It's interesting hearing about it in Canadian dollars, because you can see the Canadian dollar fall against the American dollar like weekly. I really feel like that's true. A Canadian loonie, you'll need 73,632 loonies and 1 cent in order to buy 1 Bitcoin in Canada right now. And in the States, how much US dollars do you need?
Currently, you can get a Bitcoin in US dollars for $57,256.35.
There you go, 57.
So that means officially, Jeff has won his first price check. So congratulations, you crazy Canuck, you.
Let's get it.
You know what I think we should do at some point, and by we I mean you this time. I think we need to start charting this. Like, we should chart what
I think
we pick
we should not chart
versus what it is. I think that would be hilarious.
we can always go back. You can keep a chart. I think it's fun to just keep it fun. It doesn't have to be serious. If you want to make it more serious,
No. I'm not saying no. I'm saying we chart the prices, like chart our perceived price versus the actual price. I think that'd be an interesting graph.
We could
Not
do
who
that.
wins or who loses. Like, everyone knows I'm winning. That's ridiculous.
By 1 point right now. Okay, awesome.
All right.
Do you want to talk about a quick little story? How are we doing on time here, folks? We're already running an hour and 12 minutes.
We're fine.
We're fine. Do you want to talk about that big boat really quick?
No, I think we should actually do our predictions for next week.
Oh yeah, I guess we need to predict for next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Write it down. I was going
All right, you write it down. You write it down. And I'll write mine
There's
down.
no cheating. This is an honor system type thing.
Here we are, writing it down.
Oh my god, this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
Because this week
It's
is gonna be
really
a-
hard this week. This is really hard this week. Where are we at right now?
57.
Yeah, no. We're gonna go. Okay, I'm ready when you are, sir. And as the winner this week, you go first.
You know what? I don't know. What do I want to do? Monday's so hard. I'm going to say... I haven't written it down yet. Okay. Oh, no, you can't go. Make a choice.
You go first.
Okay. I think I said a number around here last week. I'm going to go... Oh, this is what I just went with, wasn't it? I'm going to say 60... Oh, what do I want to do? 60... I'm going to go 64. 64,000.
What?
I'm going to go $64,144.12. $1.12.
What? Are you insane, sir?
I have my reasons. What do you?
You're
okay,
so
you tell me
bullish.
yours.
You're so bullish all the time.
Oh,
Every
really?
week you're bullish.
I'm undershooting it. I think we're going to see 75 within this week, and then it's going to drop back down to 64.
No, it won't. It won't happen yet, buddy. It's not ready to pop yet. I don't know why, but it's not ready to pop yet.
It's very much ready to pop.
All right. So Jeff says $64,144.12. I'm gonna go with $59,875.32.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna get really close to ATH all-time high, but we're gonna dip back down. All right. That weekend is gonna bring us really good highs, and we're gonna pull back just a little bit, consolidate a little bit.
Okay. I'm saying we're gonna skyrocket past, go up into the high 60s. Maybe hit 68 or 69, and then start dropping back down to. I know. I'm like always 1 week ahead. Like what I'm saying now is probably going to happen next week, and then I'm thinking it's going to happen this week. But I think we're going to see a really big high, and then it's going to kind of come back down and live around the low 60s for a while. That's what I think.
I could live with the low 60s. I would be happy with the low 60s, but. Did you see that chart I sent you earlier, by the way?
Yes, I've seen all the charts. Yeah, I saw that one.
That chart though is actually predicting 100,000 by July 16th. So
yeah, I'm thinking
that's interesting because that's the first time I've seen that be that official. You know.
Yeah. I'm thinking we're gonna hit 100 on May 11th. When do you think we're gonna hit 100?
I think you should ask me next week because I think if I'm right, then I am leaning more towards the July / early August to 100K.
Okay, I think that's fair.
But if you're right, then obviously that would change dramatically. So
yeah, I think we're gonna see it May 11th. I have as my date for when it's gonna hit 100 for a few.
But you know what we should say? You know what we should say? It doesn't really matter. Because you know what? It doesn't matter what the price is in U.S. dollars. Because if it's worth $1 million US, but $1 million US doesn't buy you a grain of salt, then it doesn't really matter, does it?
The price of Bitcoin doesn't matter. What matters is the friends we made along the way.
Wow! And you said I was corny before?
I love that. I love that line. I see it all the time. People will just post it on random things, and it makes me so happy. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the friends we made along the way. It's so good.
Friends. Oh my god. Man, I just want to end the cast right there with that crap. Let's talk about that big boat.
Okay, hey, there was a big boat that was stuck in the Suez Canal. Did it come up on your newsfeed? Because it came up on mine.
Oh, did you actually hear about this big boat in the Suez Canal?
I'm actually I'm asking because I asked my wife and I was like, have you heard about this boat? And she's like, no, not really. And that just really opened my, oh, wow, some people just don't know. It just doesn't come up on their feed. They'll see it in the trending tab, but they're more interested in The Bachelor, whatever else they're looking at. And right? So that's what scared me. I'm like, everybody's talking about this, right? And if you're not in that circle, you literally might not be. So, yeah, that big boat was a big deal. It was stuck, and it was clogging up a shipping lane in the Suez Canal, which is where I think it's 30% of shipping things go through there. And with it being stuck, $400 million an hour was being lost, whatever that means.
What that means is that those boats, instead of being able to go in between Iran and Africa, they had to go around the south tip of Africa. Mm-hmm. That's what that means. So when they're talking about hours lost or dollars lost, that they added tons of hours to their trip because they couldn't just scoot on through the Mediterranean and go through that little strait. That's what that means.
So I thought it was somebody was joking when they said, "Oh, they're going to blame hyperinflation on this, or they're going to blame inflation on this boat." And I was like, "Yeah, that's funny," because of all the money that's been printed. And then, sure enough, do I see an article saying, "Oh, this boat may cause prices to rise in your instant coffee and this and that." It's like, oh my god,
toilet paper,
capital T, they are That's what they're doing. They're using the and put the hat on again. Like this probably got stuck there on purpose, man, just so they could get away with what they're doing with
It
the
was
inflation
really
rates.
weird how it happened, right? And like the one meme that I saw that really stuck with me is like there's a meme, and if you guys aren't familiar, you got to go look up Suez Canal big boat stuck or whatever. Like get updated. But there was this meme I saw where basically it was like a child's drawing, right, of the Suez Canal with the boat stuck at like a 36-degree angle essentially, right? And then they had redneck truck number 1 and redneck truck number 2, and then tow straps were running from the truck to the front of the boat, and truck from the truck to the back of the boat, and like their arrows pointing. Like basically, it was like, look, this is really easy to fix. You just need redneck ingenuity, and and like it made me giggle because I think every guy in the world was like, man, I could get that boat unstuck, man. If I just had like,
I saw one
if I just
so
had a long
similar.
enough strap, if I just had a long enough strap, I could do it.
I saw a similar one where it's the overhead shot of it, and then there's just two photoshopped cans of WD-40 on either side, and that made me laugh a lot too. So that was pretty great.
It's so bizarre, and apparently the captain actually, like, if you look at his nav charts, he actually like drew a penis. Is that an actual thing, or was that a meme?
I think that was the other boats while they were waiting. They were just screwing around, and then they made a big dick and balls in their GPSs. So when people looked at it, when you looked in
the way I saw it was that what the captain of that boat did was it the Evergreen,
Evergreen or ever whatever.
Ever something. But yeah, I the way I read it was that like he got loopy and then he drew a dick and balls and then got himself wedged in the Suez Canal. That's what a weird thing. Okay, so to be serious,
if any prices go up in your area, just know that it's all that boat's fault. It has nothing to do with the $1.9 trillion that was printed. It's got nothing to do with that other $3 trillion that they're working on for next month. None of that is causing any issues. There was just a boat that was stuck.
And don't ask questions because the authorities tell you. The authorities are telling you that's why it happened. So don't ask questions, please. Unbelievable,
I guess
dude.
That covers it for the boat. Hopefully,
yeah, that's good for the boat. That's good for. Okay. Should we? Can we? You know,
quick
it's my favorite
dunk.
thing to do.
A quick dunk.
It's my favorite thing to do. I love this so much.
All right, the ball's in your hands, there, Doug.
The balls are in my hands. What?
The ball's in your hand, and your buddy, the one and only. Hold on, let me cue up his name here. Øystein Spray Spetalen.
Spetalen.
He's defending the net. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna dunk or are you gonna get defended? Let's see. Try and dunk on him. I actually don't know too much about this guy.
All right, so you can see this in our Discord. We posted the article. Hang on, actually, I need a little sip of water here because Øystein, he's got some wrath coming.
I thought he was a nice guy. You know, he's like, yeah. But I saw the back end of it.
This article came out on March 27th, 2 days ago. Okay, let me just read the opening paragraph to you. 9 days ago, billionaire investor Øystein Spetalen used his platform at the DNB Invest conference to denounce Bitcoin as a quote-unquote nonsense currency. Now, he's not only bought his own stash of the currency, in addition to investing in Norway's largest Bitcoin exchange, Media X, according to Norwegian publication Finansivensen. And I apologize for butchering all of those Norwegian words.
Yeah, American
Long
accent
story
on Norwegian
short.
words.
I always default to Russian for some reason. I don't know why.
It's a good one.
But so literally not even a full 2 weeks ago, this Norwegian douche nozzle is pissing all over Bitcoin as a nonsense currency. Okay? And his main gripe, by the way, as you go down the article, and by the way, this article will be posted in the links below. You can go ahead and check that out. I'm going to make a little note here. No Coiner article. Okay, because I won't remember otherwise. He was citing the FUD, right? What does FUD stand for, Jeff, my friend?
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There's
Yep.
a lot of FUD that goes on in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to our main question of the day, what is a scam and what isn't? He was basically saying that because of the environmental impacts of crypto mining, okay, that it was a scam, it was garbage, we shouldn't use it, blah blah blah. And then literally 10 days later, he goes and he buys a bunch of Bitcoin and he gets involved. And you said there's another person that went along with him as a result of this?
So this happened afterwards. So this guy bought in because he's just like, whatever, I think I like it now. He flipped over, which I think is a good thing, you know. It's good to dunk on people that are no-coiners, but the no-coiners are... They're shifting so fast now. They're going from being a no-coiner to understanding really quick. These are the type of people that have lots of money and they're realizing the benefits of Bitcoin. He had another buddy, Øystein Spetalen had a friend that just said, well, if Øystein's doing it, I'm going to do it too. And they both dropped a bunch of money into Bitcoin. I think it's awesome.
No. Do you know why it's not awesome?
Why isn't it awesome?
Because he's doing what exactly is the problem with current fiat money policy. Okay, he was fudding to try and lower the price, and he knew before he bought that Bitcoin he was gonna buy that Bitcoin. He knew 10 days in advance. He knew a month in advance. What he was trying to do was drop the price. He was trying to scare out the paper hands, okay, so that he could get a better deal on it. That's all this was. And for him to use FUD, which is it's a ridiculous FUD. This idea of Bitcoin is too environmentally unfriendly, it uses energy, it's blah, blah, blah. It's stupid. It's just dumb. Okay, go ahead and fact check me on it. That's fine. Yes, I know it uses a lot of energy, but guess how much? Guess how much the paper dollar uses, or any other fiat currency uses,
or
okay?
any technology that has moved society forward.
Yes, it's ridiculous. Okay, what did he say? Spetalen voiced his concerns about Bitcoin's carbon footprint. Bitcoin today consumes as much energy as all of Norway. It's extremely environmentally hostile. Listen to the words he's using, okay? It's environmentally hostile. Okay, the authorities, listen to this line. The authorities and the EU should ban it immediately. What? And then less than 2 weeks later, he's buying a crap load of it? I mean, he's not buying one. He's buying a lot. He knew he was fudding on purpose to try and drop price so that he could get in at a cheaper level. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is a classic example of someone trying to manipulate a market so that they can benefit. He was FOMOing, right? Which is fear of missing out. Okay, he was FOMOing, and he was trying to devise a path to get himself in cheaper because he knew he missed the boat. So you're listening to this today because you're smart and you're at least curious about Bitcoin. This guy, he knew he missed the boat on Bitcoin, and he was trying to manipulate price on it. That is scummy to me. That is hedge fund shorting, GameStop scummy. Okay? I'm calling it right now.
So, yeah, people that have a lot of influence can influence markets, and you have to be able to see through that. There's going to be a lot of reasons that you'll see online to sell your Bitcoin, to get out of it, why not to have it. And you have to just question. You just have to think for yourself and say, is this a good reason for me to sell my Bitcoin? Is this a good reason to not partake in this community of Bitcoiners? And make a choice for yourself whether or not you want to do that. And then you will read these articles with that lens saying, okay, well, I see his point of view, but let me see if I can take him down. And yeah, if he's just screaming about energy, well, do some research on how the energy affects Bitcoin. God, we can talk about that in a future episode, but energy is good to use in short.
No, it's fine, but I mean the bottom line is look, we go back to that freedom thing, okay? And the important thing about freedom is that people will find a way to service themselves the best, okay? If people's concerns genuinely come down to it costs me too much in energy to maintain mining Bitcoin, what they will do is they will start pushing cheaper alternatives. They will start pushing things like solar, like wind. And I guarantee in the next 2 years, okay, you can put Doug's lock of the week on this one, you will start seeing more and more miners start buying solar panels. Bitcoin will do naturally through its own internal devices will do what governments cannot do. Bitcoin will force people to start moving towards, for lack of a better term, carbon neutral ideas. They will just energy. because they want to maximize their profits. The one thing you can count on, in my opinion, is that the human animal will serve itself the best. So if you devise mechanisms and systems that allow for that, you will achieve the best result. What he was trying to do, right, was he was trying to say it's bad for the environment because it's going to take up a lot of energy and we're going to have to use a lot of whatever, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is the discussion's already being had in terms of Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin node users. They're already talking about moving over to solar or moving over to wind, and they're trying to find the best way to do that. They're going to push the green agenda faster than any government in the world could ever do it. And that it irritates me that this guy, I know you want to say something, I'm sorry, but let me just finish.
It's okay.
This guy irritates me because he was trying to FUD people when he didn't know what he was talking about at all. He was just knee-jerk. He's going back to that thing we were talking about earlier, where all of my friends are saying it's bad for the environment, so I think it's bad for the environment. And he wasn't doing his own research. But then he did his own research, and he knows that Bitcoin is actually going to be the payment system of the future. And now he has to get in, and he's trying to kind of like scare everybody else off. Mm-hmm. Oh, screw this guy. You got dunked on. And I'm going to do it very passively. I'm going to be very passive. But listen... what's his name again?
Øystein.
I
mean, I do want a name
Spetalen.
with his name starts with a O with a line through it. I've never seen that letter before, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. But the fact of the matter is, billionaire investor, you got dunked on by some common dude out of Wisconsin. Okay?
Not a boy.
You tried to FUD. We see it for what it is. You got dunked on.
Nice. Okay, I'll leave it with one quick short thing on the energy consumption, and then we'll close out the show. Just as you were saying, they're looking for cleaner energies, and one thing that I heard interesting this week is that there's a mining, I don't know, what would you call it, a mining factory, a mining plant, that has found a way to capture carbon flares, where the carbon is actually going up into the sky, and they've never used this for energy before. They capture the flare and turn that flare into energy. And so not only are they finding clean energy, they're removing dirty carbon from the atmosphere and using it in a cleaner way to produce Bitcoin. So the innovation is strong in the Bitcoin community. It's definitely a lot of cool technologies are going to come out of it. A lot of good ways to harness energy are going to come out of it. And it's going to be an exciting thing to watch happen. So that energy FUD, look into it. It's very bad
look
stuff.
Into it, and then... But you have to, I mean, look, I come from the school of the idea that if you look at any volcano, right, if it blows, it's spewing a billion times more carbon than the human race can, right?
Well,
like every time a volcano explodes, there's a ton of carbon in the air. It just happens. Do I think that there's global warming? Yeah, probably. Do I think it's anthropomorphic? No. not even a little bit. And this is a FUD. This is what we in the spy game, we call this a red herring. This is something to get us off of what's actually important, right? It's supposed to distract us.
We can get into whether global warming is real or not in a future date, because that would be fun to talk about.
That's fine. I mean, again, do I think it's happening? Yeah. Do I think it's what they say it is? No, because I inherently mistrust authority. I think they have agenda. That's it. That's the long and the short of that. So
you got to be careful what you listen to, folks, and you're making good choices.
Which is why you should listen to us every week on the Breeze app. That's what you should do. Yeah, on the
Breeze app. Or anywhere else you can find podcasts. We appreciate your time, spending it with us and listening, and hopefully you learned something. If you didn't learn something, hopefully you laughed. If you didn't laugh, and I don't know, hopefully you cried. Well, I don't want you to cry. Hopefully you learned something. I'll leave it at that. I need a good outro, man. Do you have a good outro? You do an outro, and then we'll shut it down. You take the outro.
No, because you know what? You're gonna call it cheesy or whatever. But I'll say this.
Okay.
I will say this. In the game of life. Oh my god. Nah, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening this week. We really appreciate it. That's the bottom line, honestly. We're just two guys talking, and if you guys are listening, that makes it worth it to us. It doesn't matter anything else, just that you're listening and sharing the conversation. Leave your comments below, or email us, or Twitter at us. Whatever. What is it called? DMing, I guess.
Get at us if you want to.
Yeah,
and
just get at us.
If you don't want to, we'll see you here next week.
Next week, kids.
All right. Peace and love. Bye-bye.